example number 3. So example number 3 says mark the following facts on the diagram. So the first thing that they want us to mark is that angle ABC is congruent to CDA. So that's what that first statement is saying. So this is saying that angle, and that's what this symbol means. That symbol means angle. So angle ABC, not bad. ABC is congruent to angle CDA. So congruent, remember, means equal length. And if we're trying to mark congruent angles on a diagram, then we're going to use arcs. Okay, so let's highlight this first angle in yellow. So angle ABC. So the angle that I'm talking about here, I'm going to start at angle A. Whoops. Go to B because that's where my vertex is, and then C. So they're talking about this angle right here that I've highlighted in yellow. So angle ABC is congruent to CDA, and I'm going to highlight that one in blue. So I'm going to find my endpoint C, go to my vertex, which is Z, and then go to A. So they're telling us that the yellow angle and the blue angle are congruent. I'm going to mark that with arcs, and I'm going to use 2 arcs to show that these are congruent. Cool beans. So then the next statement here is saying that AC bisects angle DAB. Okay, so remember so segment AC bisects DAB. This is saying that AC is doing the cutting. So this AC, oh, maybe I'll do this. AC is doing the cutting. You don't have to write that part down, but I'm just making that a note for other people. Okay. So let's take a look at angle DAB. So DAB is this angle right here, right? And that angle is getting cut in half. So the 2 smaller angles are congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those as congruent. And remember, I have to use different arcs to show that these are the 2 that are congruent. So I'm going to make 2 arcs and put a tick mark through them. Okay. I have to use different markings when I'm talking about different pairs of angles because otherwise I'm saying that all of the angles are congruent to each other, and that's just not true. All right, let's go on to example 4. Okay, so example 4, we're going to get into some algebra practice. So let angle ABC be a straight angle. Find the measure of angle EBC. Okay, so ABC is a straight angle, and if you remember from our first video, straight angles have a measure of 180 degrees. So if that whole angle measures 180 degrees, that means this angle plus this angle plus this angle must equal 180. So I can go ahead and set up an equation. So one thing I might do, well, I don't even have to set up an equation, but if you want to, we can label this as x. So I know that 60 plus 80 plus x equals 180 because all 3 of those angles added together will get you to the straight angle. And then you can just add the 60 and the 80 together and then subtract it from 180, and you should get that x equals 40 degrees. So the measure of angle EBC, okay, so this is saying the measure of angle EBC equals 40 degrees. And we're done with that one. Okay. What I'm doing here, guys, is I'm also writing down what the notation means. So make sure you write that down somewhere, that anytime you see the M and then the angle symbol, I'm talking about the measure of that angle. Okay, let's do example 5, and then you guys will try example 6 on your own. Okay, so for example 5, they're saying, let the measure of angle ABC equal 80 degrees. Solve for x. So remember, M and then angle sign, and then the letters means the measure of the angle. So the measure of that whole angle is 180 degrees. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that on my diagram as best as I can. So this whole thing equals 180 degrees. So if I know that whole thing measures 180 degrees, that means the 2 smaller angles, which are labeled there, I can add those together, and that'll get me to the 80 degrees. So I'm going to set up an equation. So I'm going to set up 7x minus 22 because that's the expression I have for one of the angles. Add it to 4x minus 8 because that's the expression that I have set up for the other angle. And I'm going to set that equal to 80. Okay, I've got an equation set up. I'm getting this expression, doing it here, this expression, put that here, and then we know that the whole thing equals 80. All right, once I've set up my equation, I can go ahead and combine like terms. So let's see, 7x plus 4x is 11x. And then negative 2 plus negative 8, that's going to be negative 30. So I have negative 30 equals 80. So I have 11x minus 30 equals 80. And then to start undoing, I want to add 30 to both sides. So that's going to cancel out. So I'm going to bring this over here, and I've got 11x equals 110. To undo the 11, I'm going to divide both sides by 11. And I'm left with x equals 10. And I've solved for x. If I wanted to take this a step further and solve for each of the angles, I would then plug in that value for x. So if I wanted to find the measure of angle ABD, which is the one that has the yellow expression, then I would just plug in 10 in for x and solve. So then this becomes 70 minus 22, and 70 minus 22 equals 48. So the measure of angle ABD equals 48. And you can do that for the other angle as well. Okay. All right, let's go on to do one more example. Okay, so now you guys try. So this time, angle WAX is a right angle. So think about what that means. What do right angles measure? And label that. Find the measure of angle WAM and the measure of angle MAX. So they want you to find the two smaller angles that are in there. So before we get going, I'm going to give you guys a hint. So angle WAX is a right angle. So I'm going to label that in my picture with a box. What does that box mean? So right angles, what do they measure? Okay. And if you're still stuck on that, go back and look at the first video. Once you label your diagram, set up an equation just like we did in example 5. Finish this problem, then come back to class. We're going to go over the answer together.